Hey everybody, this is Coach Hammett coming to you live from beautiful Georgetown, Texas, here in room 122 at Benold. With today's lesson, we're going to be talking about parallel and perpendicular lines. Alright, so let's talk about parallel lines. Well, first we know that parallel lines have the same slope. Alright, they have the same slope. They're never going to touch. Alright, and the other thing about parallel lines is they have to have different y-intercepts. All right, and I'm just going to put b right there for y-intercepts. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, so those are parallel lines. Perpendicular lines we're going to get to here in a little bit, but they cross once. All right, and when they cross with a 90-degree angle. All right, they cross once with a 90-degree angle, so they are perfect 90-degree angles when they touch. Again, it only crosses once. They may have a different y-intercept, but the main thing about it is that they are going to cross once and only once with a 90-degree angle. So let's work through some examples, and also I've I've put this PDF on as well on Sophia, and so you can print this out and fill it out as you go. Alright, so we're going to write an equation of the line that passes through 2, 4 and is parallel to this line, y equals 4x plus 1. Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to look at the slope. We know that parallel lines have the same slope. The graph of the given equation has a slope of 4. So the parallel line through 2, 4 has to have a slope of 4 as well. Okay, so we're going to find the y-intercept. We're going to use the slope in the given point. We're going to use our slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Now, the slope is easy. M is going to be 4. Now, where we get our y and our x right there is from this. We have our x value, we have our y value. So we're just going to substitute 4 for m, we're going to substitute 2 for x, and 4 for y. So I'm going to put a 2 right there and a 4 right there. My y value is 4, my x value is 2. So now when we solve this, well, 4 times 2, right here, 4 times 2 would be 8. So I'm going to just go ahead and I'll just put it on the side. 4 equals 8 plus b minus 8 minus 8. Negative 4 equals b. So b equals negative 4. Now, it wants us to write an equation. Use y equals mx plus b. We're going to substitute the 4 for the slope and negative 4 for our y-intercept. So our formula is going to be y equals 4x minus 4. This line is going to be parallel to this line right here, and we can check that the slopes are the same and different y-intercepts. All right, a couple blank screens right here, just work through those. All right, so now let's go to perpendicular lines. When we talk about perpendicular lines, remember, it's crossing once. And because it's crossing once, they have to have different slopes. Well, how do we figure that out? If two non-vertical lines have the slopes that are negative, a negative inverse, all right, or a negative reciprocal, then the lines are perpendicular. All right. Okay, so it's got to be the negative inverse. And let's talk a little bit about that. If you're filling the blanks in, if two non-vertical lines are perpendicular, then their slopes are negative inverses. All right. And a couple of just notations. Perpendicular is written like that. Parallel is written like that. But this is what we're dealing with right here, this perpendicular. Okay, so let's say our slope, we have y equals 2x plus 3. Well, our slope is 2. The negative inverse for that would be negative 1 over 2. Because remember, 2 is the same as saying 2 over 1. And so we put a negative sign in front, and we take this, and yes, we flip it. It'd be 1 over 2. So what would the inverse be if slope was 2/3 or negative 2/3? Well, the negative inverse of that would be 3 halves. It would be another negative sign in front, up, negative and a negative make a positive, and you flip that upside down to 3 halves. So let's work through this. We're going to skip that problem and that one. Okay. Determine which of the following lines, if any, are parallel or perpendicular. Well, look at line B. Line B is real nice. They gave us the slope-intercept formula, 4 and 2. So let's look at line A. We have 12x. All right. Actually, we'll just work it down here with the problem. Okay. So we have 12x over here. We have negative 3y. So I'm going to subtract 12x from this side and put it over here. Minus 12x plus 3. Okay. If we divide by negative 3, both sides, we're going to come up with 4x minus 1. Okay, 4x minus 1. Now I want you to start thinking. Line A is 4x minus 1. Line B is 4x plus 2. That's going to be important here in just a second. All right, to solve line C, we're going to subtract x from both sides, minus x minus 8 or plus 8. And then we're going to divide by 4. Divide the entire side by 4. And we come up with negative 1/4 x plus 2. All right, so let's fill this in. Lines A and B have a slope of 4, so they are parallel. Okay, they have the same slope, different y-intercepts. Line C has a slope of negative 1/4, the negative reciprocal of 4, so it is perpendicular to lines A and B. And that's what we're looking for, this negative reciprocal to a positive or to a slope. I said positive slope. It could be a negative sign here and a positive sign there. Okay, so let's work some. Write an equation of the line that passes through negative 4, 6 and is parallel to line y equals negative 3x plus 2. Now it says parallel, which means the slope stays the same. The slope stays the same. So what we would do is we would take this and we would put it in and solve for a new b, our y-intercept. So it would be 6 equals negative 3 times negative 4, the slope, m, x, plus whatever our new b is going to be. So we have 6 equals 12 plus b. We're going to subtract 12 from both sides, and we're going to come up with b equals negative 6. This is not our answer. It wants an equation. So we look at the first equation. We say y equals negative 3x, and then we look at our new b, minus 6. And that is going to be our answer for that problem right there. Okay? So right here, we're going to determine which of the following lines, if any, are parallel or perpendicular. Well, it looks like line C is the closest to being in true y equals mx plus b format. The only thing I have to do is divide both sides by 8. So line C is going to come up y equals 2 over 8, which we reduce down to 1/4 x plus 1. And I'm just going to write that over here. Y equals 1. Actually, I'll put it over by C. That way I won't get it mixed up. Y equals 1/4 x plus 1. All right, go ahead and erase all that. All right, so let's do this 5y plus 20x equals 10. Well, I'm going to subtract 20x. And again, all I'm doing right here is I'm trying to get it into y equals mx plus b, which is the easiest way to look at these linear functions and to decide what to do. Decide if they are going to work or not. So y would equal, well, negative 20 divided by 5 would be negative 4x plus 2. So I'm going to write that here. Y equals negative 4x plus 2. Your brain should start moving right now thinking about this -4 and this 1/4. All right, so let's go on. Let's go on to line A. 4x plus y equals 2. Well, just minus 4x minus 4x. Y equals -4x plus 2. So y equals -4x plus 2. Ooh, something interesting happened right there. All right, just letting you see that. So determine which lines, if any, are parallel or perpendicular. Well, it looks like line A and B are actually the same line. We came up with -4x plus 2, -4x plus 2. So these are actually the same thing. Now when we look at line C, we came up with y equals 1/4 x plus 1. And that tells me that that's the negative reciprocal. So line C is perpendicular to A and B. All right, line C is going to be perpendicular to both of them since they're the same line. Okay, going on, determine if the following lines are perpendicular. I'm going to try to let you work through that. Remember, what we want to see is the negative inverse or the negative reciprocal. I write inverse because it's hard to spell reciprocal. Oh, there it is right there. All right, so the negative reciprocal. Make sure of that. It doesn't matter about the y-intercepts. Y-intercepts will very rarely be the same unless they cross on the y-axis. Okay? So, work through these and we'll see how you do. I'm going to pause it real quick and we're going to see what you came up with. Okay, so this is the work I did on this problem. I came up with y equals 5/6 x plus 4/3 and y equals -6/5 x minus 1. Slope of line A is 5/6. The slope of line B is -6/5. The two slopes are negative reciprocals, so lines A and B are going to be perpendicular. That is the negative reciprocal of that. Or you could say this is the negative reciprocal of that. It works both ways. All right. So here again, go ahead and work through this. Try to figure it out, and I will have it filled in when you get back. Ready? And we'll pause. Alright, so let's walk through this. We've got a slope, a given slope of this, but we're not using this. We want to find the one that is perpendicular to this line. Because the slope of perpendicular lines are negative reciprocals, our slope is going to be -3. Flip it, put a negative sign with it. Alright, so we're going to put a -3 for slope, a -3 for x, because that's our point right here, and a 4 for y. When we do this, it would be 9 plus b. We subtract 9 from both sides and we come up to -5. We substitute -3 for the slope and -5 for the y-intercept, and we come up with y equals 3x minus 5. Hopefully we're getting this pretty well right now. Okay? Alright, I'm going to leave these two for you to do, and that's just about, I'll put the answers up here in just a second. Okay everybody, so this is how my answers ended up. First we're just supposed to determine whether line A is perpendicular. So perpendicular, we're going to have negative reciprocals. Well, it looks like the slope of the first line here, I said this was my first point, this was my second point, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's going to equal 1/2. The slope of the second line is going to equal -2. Those are negative reciprocals, so yes, it is perpendicular. And then number 4, my formula ended up being y equals -1/5 x minus 1 1/5. The slope is right here for the first line, but we want one that's perpendicular to that, and that's why my slope changed to -1 1/5. All right? Make sure you get your whisk done. If you have any questions, bring them to class. I know it's a lot of information, but y'all are doing great. Keep up with it, and we'll be doing some work on this tomorrow. All right? We'll talk to y'all later.